Right there. I thought I would make a video comparing a mandolin versus an octave mandolin. And I know there's quite a few of these videos out there on the internet, and there's better players than me. But I looked through them, many of them, and one thing I didn't see was playing to the strengths of each instrument. So that's kind of what I'm going to cover mostly today. I believe, my attitude anyways, is not to try to form an instrument to me necessarily, but when I work on the various Martin guitars and that sort of things, I always try to find out what that particular guitar, mandolin, whatever, is good at. What is it particularly good at? So, for instance, I have two mandolins. This one and a Chris shot. The Chris shot's in Los Alamos right now. I keep it up there. And the two mandolins have individual voices. So the Chris shot, which is in my other videos, you can go search my videos for Chris shot mandolin, and you'll find actually a video where I compared three of them at one time. But for me, that mandolin is a kind of a David Grisman sort of mandolin. It's a more versatile mandolin than this Elkhorn. This Elkhorn just screams Sam Bush, Bill Monroe to me. It has that open, woody sound. So I tend to play that kind of thing on this mandolin, and I tend to play different things. I don't like Sam Bush, Bill Monroe stuff on the Chris shot because it's cleaner, more modern. It has like a Chris Thile tone to it almost, So I'm just saying that's an example of the different voices of different instruments and what I feel their strengths are. Two people could have completely different opinions, and I have stories about that too. But let's get on with it here. So we're going to look at the mandolin a little bit, and then we're going to look at the octave mandolin here. This is the Eastman, and what is this? This is the MD 0305. It's a very popular octave mandolin. I've had two octave mandolins personally, and I've played several more. The Eastman is a really good mandolin. Yeah, it is. It's a mandolin, isn't it? It's an octave mandolin. It's a really good octave mandolin. The setup was really extremely good on it. I didn't do a single thing to this mandolin. The nut height was perfect on it. Everything was just really great about this. I highly recommend these. I had another one, a gold tone, and I love gold tone banjos, but the octave mandolin, I just didn't impress me as much. It has a zero nut on it, and I had to take the nut down to get it right. In fact, I think I got rid of the zero nut and made a regular nut for it because the zero nuts are great, but this one was a bigger fret than the rest of the frets. So you had essentially a high nut. I had two of them. They both had loose braces in them that I had to clean, and they had a longer scale, so they were even harder to play. I don't know. I got this one in, and I like this Eastman much, much better. So anyway, here's an octave mandolin, and it is basically an octave lower than a regular mandolin. Here's how the scale compares to the two. So I'm going to line up the bridges, and you can see how much longer that scale is. So what that means, first of all, is even though it's tuned like a mandolin, it does not act like a mandolin. First thing I notice is it is a two-shoulder strap. I'm a one-shoulder strap on the mandolin for a variety of reasons, and I can't quite do it on this because it doesn't want to balance correctly. It got a lot more weight out here. It's really getting to be almost like a guitar at this point. I could do it, but the balance is neck heavy on it. The neck wants to fall down, and I end up supporting that that neck with my hand, which I don't like. Sitting down is not too bad because it jams into my thigh right here, which is kind of like playing a backpacker Martin guitar, you know, and it does balance this way. But for me, octave mandolin is a two-shoulder instrument. And when I do that, that supports the neck a little bit better. So, you know, that's the difference right away. I don't like two shoulders on mandolins for a couple of reasons. Number one, when I get the mandolin, I'll show you some more about it. But number one, I like to pull the instrument away from my body to keep it from vibrating. I don't use a tone guard or anything like that back here because I like to control that tone by moving it closer away from my body. So when I'm on a two-shoulder strap like this, it's more like a guitar. It just hangs there. I don't have quite the ability to pull it away like that. So when I'm doing chops, for instance, on the mandolin, I will bring it to my body to dampen the chop, to dampen this against my stomach. And that keeps the chop level down a little bit. And then when I go to play a lead, I pull it away and lets it open up and ring a little bit. Just regarding the tone guard kind of thing real quickly, I have noticed that the vast majority of people that use those are two-shoulder people. And I think that's because they don't pull the mandolin away. They don't control it like that. That's just the way I've always done it on mandolin. I noticed that right away, that your body can damp it, and you can use that to your advantage or not. So, but the octave mandolin becomes a two-shoulder instrument for me. So as far as actually playing it, it's the same scale. You know, here's a D scale. But right away, when I first picked this up, this is a pinky machine. These scales that I would normally run using these three fingers on the mandolin become pretty hard to do on the octave. You've got to really angle your fingers like this. And if you try to do it like this with your fingers straight, there's no way you're going to do it. You're going to do severe angling. Now, fortunately, I started learning to play with my pinky right when I started playing, so I'm very comfortable using my pinky. And so I totally would use my pinky on a lot of this. So that's one thing right away is you're going to use your pinky a lot on the octave mandolin. It's quite a stretch. The second thing I noticed about this right away is that there's so much drone potential going on here. If I was to play something like, for instance, I don't feel like I would play something on octave mandolin exactly like I would play it on mandolin. To play to the strengths of the instrument, there are so many nice drone notes going on here that I feel like I would just really have to use those. So, if you take something like Whiskey Before Breakfast, which I was sort of playing there, the notes would go like this. And I feel like that's not really using the octave as well. I would probably come up here and do something like this. You know, I would rearrange the tune to capitalize on that open D, and then when you shift down to here to the open A. It's tricky because I haven't practiced it enough to do this. It's just sitting there playing with it. That's the kind of thing I would do. So. You know, I would get that drone going. If you're going to do your own kind of tune, like this kind of thing just sounds so cool on this, and does not sound so cool on the mandolin. You see those drones, boy, that sounds cool. It sounds like a lute. As soon as I picked it up the first time, I think, gosh, this thing just screams old Celtic music. And I am no Celtic player. You know, I can play some Irish tunes and things like that, but I am not an Irish tune, Scottish tune expert. But as soon as I hear that, I think, gosh, that's got so much potential for bringing out different notes on it. So same thing goes with the chords. On the mandolin, I would totally be playing chop chords most of the time. Of course, I am a bluegrass player. So first of all, here we go. Single shoulder. And see what I'm talking about here now, it balances. And I would pull it away like this for leads, and I would bring it to my body for chopping. So, but on the chops, I would totally be long A chord. I do use, abbreviated chords like this one. But, that to me is something that no other instrument does, is that kind of chop chord. Mandolin just rules that. So to play to the strengths of the instrument, that chop chord is what I would be going for. Open chords like that don't do that much for me on mandolin. They're good to know. I use them once in a while, but nothing does this. Nothing does that chop chord. So that's what I would do on mandolin. And the octave, they don't have that kind of chop. This is a bassy, tubby instrument, especially this one. It is an expensive octave mandolin. It doesn't have a chop to it. But I played some really top dollar octaves, the kind that look like little guitars. Those are really fun. They have a totally different sound. They feel like little guitars, only octaves. So, but I would not be using chop chords on this. First of all, I can't even make that long A. I mean, my fingers don't cut it. I think I have pretty flexible fingers, but I can't do that. So I would be doing, again, playing to the strengths of the instrument. I would be looking at open chords. So for an A chord, for instance, or a D chord, I'd be looking at that. And when I needed to make a B chord, I'd keep that going. I'd put this down here and get it. Or I might come up here and do this kind of thing. Like that. For A, and there's no way I could do that. I could do this A, which is a pretty good chord, but boy, listen to this one. Yeah, that's a nice tone. I mean, that's a big fat straddling the line between a guitar and a mandolin sound. I like that. Okay? You play with those things, but I certainly would not, my bottom line on this is I almost would approach the octave mandolin as its own unique instrument. I can't see playing Salt Creek like I would play on mandolin, that doesn't do anything for me. I would totally rearrange that and play with more of an open drone like I did with Whiskey Before Breakfast. I'd play it up in here, get that drone going. Maybe come down here and try a lower one. I would be looking for drones, things that I could cross pick. I would be definitely mixing my guitar knowledge and approach and my mandolin knowledge and approach, and I'd be mixing them together to bring out the strengths of this instrument. So, it's ideal for vocal things, non-bluegrass tunes, again, Celtic songs, folk songs would be cool. What else would you do that for? You do that for your own stuff, but I'll tell you what this is really fun for is like solo instrument playing. So I used to do a gig in the restaurant back when we lived over in eastern New Mexico, and I would go into the restaurant and play, and it was an open mic deal, but sometimes I'd be the only guy in there, so I would play for 3 hours solo guitar, mandolin, and this was really cool for that because people had never seen this thing, and I would talk about it, an octave mandolin, and you get people's attention. And I would do the jigs, the Irish tunes that I know. I would do a lot of them on this one. So, for instance, and try to get as much of a droning going as I could. So. It sounds cool on there. It's different. People are not used to hearing that sound. And it's a big, fat sound that's good for solo work. So let me do that on the mandolin. And to me, it just doesn't do the same sort of thing. That's a thinner sound. It's cool. There's things that I would do on solo mandolin, but I would do more of a Monroe, Bush sort of thing, where I could really get a strummy thing, so. Stuff like that. That would work okay on solo mandolin for 1 or 2 songs, but when it got to the Celtic and the Irish stuff, I'd definitely be picking this up, and I'd also play something original on it, something that I wrote, came up with, like that little tune that minor key deal I was doing at the beginning, That kind of thing. That sounds so cool. And I could play around with that. So anyway, that's a little bit on octave mandolin versus mandolin. One other thing you could do on this too, I mentioned this before. You put a capo on here, put a banjo capo on here, and you get a shorter reach, and the capo will brighten up the instrument a little bit. So let's see if I have a capo sitting around here within easy reach. I don't. Capo somewhere. Plus, I don't have a banjo capo anymore. But try putting a capo on, and you can get different drones into different keys. I don't see that as heresy as putting it on an octave. I don't like capos on mandolins. I feel like most of the time they're cheating. Sometimes they're good for special effects, like Blue Highway song. Sean Lane uses one on one of the tunes to put it in a different key, and I sure wouldn't accuse him of cheating. He's a great mandolin player. He's using the capo for a certain sound. You do the same thing on here. But I thought that the octave really responded well to putting a banjo capo on it and using different drones to get it in a different key, just like you do on guitar. And again, mixing guitar knowledge and mandolin knowledge, bringing them both into this kind of instrument and letting it have its own unique voice. So I can tell you this, I rarely play my mandola. I've got another video on mandolin versus mandola, and I rarely play the mandola. If I want that kind of different sound, I nearly always pick up the octave because it's even more so than the mandola. The mandola's got a deeper tone than the mandolin. It's great for vocals again, but trying to convert a mandola in your head. So you're trying to think, okay, Whiskey Before Breakfast, if I want to really play it in the right key, it's in D, and so I have to play it out of an A shape. You know, your notes start off in a completely different place, and they're workable, but it's just mind-blowingly difficult for me to translate mandolin over to mandola. But on the octave, it's not that bad. You can do it pretty well. So I recommend, if you're a mandolin player, if you're a guitar player, boy, these things are really fun. I really recommend scoring yourself a good octave mandolin and playing around with it. So, all right.